All right, we're joined now by Coach Mike Giorgio, who has spent time once again. We're talking to a resourceful Canadian who's coached at pretty much every level in our country, from club to university, a long-term lead assistant coach at the University of Toronto with the Varsity Blues. Currently is the head coach in the OSBA at Royal Crown, who also was the champion for the Platinum Circuit this past season. Had a great year. Mike was honored to be voted as the Coach of the Year in the OSBA. Has spent time at the pro level in the CEBL with the Hamilton Honey Badgers. Summer camp director, Team Ontario. Am I missing anything here, Mike? You've done it all.
Hey man, I've been all over the place. So
I love that.
Anything you want to add to that, I'm game.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to continue to grow and add things to this list as well as a career coach. Something I admire greatly in you is that you've just always found a way to keep progressing and keep growing and contributing to the game of basketball here in Canada. And my hat's off to you, and continue to grow and progress. That's the best thing we could ask from a basketball community, is to have people like you dedicated to the craft. So keep on going, man. I appreciate that.
I appreciate this kind words too.
No worries. The intros are starting to become a specialty. Just hitting the rap sheet, running it off like
right off the top of the head too.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Yeah, straight freestyle coming out off the dome. So you had a really successful year this year. This was your first year back in the head coaching position. You took a group of young men at Royal Crown, and I'm sure you probably would have liked to make a longer run in the OSBA side of things, but we're able to rally the guys and finish the Platinum Circuit with a championship trophy. What was the year like for you? How did it go back in the head chair? It's a little different than the assistant's chair.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the kudos goes to the guys on the team. Honestly, as soon as I won the Coach of the Year award, the first thing I said to them was, man, this doesn't mean anything unless we win that championship. I'll trade this for a championship any day, anytime. Right. And then when we didn't come through in the OSBA, kudos to 40 they played a great game, and they ended up being the eventual champion too. So, I think that was a bunch of good teams going at each other, and they came out on top of that day. But it was really good for the guys to really get up for that Platinum Circuit, the very next week. Like that's hard to motivate. They got up for it. We ended up winning it. And, there's something to be said about winning your last game of the season. I told them, that was our motivation. You want to go into the off season on a high note. Right. And I just think back, we started back all the way back in August. So it was a long journey. The guys worked hard the whole season, and part of it was they hadn't played for 2 years, with COVID and everything, and not having any season and not having any basketball really, they hadn't had. So their motivation was up, and they really wanted to get into it, and they came together as a team. I had to completely really change what I wanted to do come September, because, a month in, we're like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, this is a completely different level. I got to fit my philosophies now to who we got. I saw who we had. We were a deep, strong, big, athletic team. So I had to figure out a philosophy that worked for them. Right. Yeah. And me coming from the University of Toronto, where we've always been sort of an offensive, X's and O's team.
Yeah.
Moving into this level of basketball, where now, we really only worked on defense for the first half of the year. I came in, and, I was thinking about offense, and then I saw us play, and I was like, damn, if we can guard, we can win, And I'm really proud of our defensive numbers. The only defensive numbers that I really see are the ones that are on synergy for all the OSBA games. We finished the season 38-3 overall in all games played, and I was really happy with how our defense looked. So that those 2-3 months that we spent on defense at the beginning of the year really paid off. And then we got a chance to work on some of our offense come the second half of the year. So it was a really long journey. And for all the players on the team to come together, because they had never played together before, right? Like 2 or 3 of them had, but like we've never had, there was no returning players to this
Yeah,
team.
you don't get the 4-year, 5-year veteran.
Right. So there's no institutional knowledge coming in. So everything
Yeah.
you're teaching is new. Every drill is new. Every concept is new.
Sure.
Every, set is new.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to next year right now, because we're going to have some guys coming back that now there's going to be some institutional knowledge, so we
Yeah.
can start to build on things that we've already taught, instead of just like learning new everything that we've been doing.
Yeah. The prep level is a wonderful exercise as a coach to adjust to a number of variables that you don't get in many other coaching avenues here in Canada. Being at Southwest for 5 years and going through exactly the same scenarios you're talking about, aside from the 38-3 record, I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, we lost a lot, we learned a lot. And it's always, isn't it funny how sweet it is when at least the team that beats you out wins the championship?
Yeah. That's what I said to them too, is like, we didn't lose to another team that, lost to in the finals. Like that's you take a little bit of solace in that when you look back on it.
Yeah, you lost the chance. And when you only lose 3 times in a year, it's hard to not look at it as a wild success.
For sure.
Especially when you're talking about, adolescent kids that are in their formative years trying to become, excellent basketball players, elite level basketball players that can win as a habit. That value is so important. There's so much in what you just said that I want to unpack with you. Like, I'm offensive oriented myself. I think that's my strength as a coach. And to be able to identify in your group that wasn't what they needed and adjust, it's pretty cool. Did anything happen? Like, was there anything that stuck out to you, like where you were like, okay, like we've really got to do something defensively? And then when you started teaching defense, were you like, this is a way bigger fucking pill to swallow than I thought it was going to be?
Yeah, definitely. Like, honestly, first thing first, you got to get the kids to trust you, because it's hard, right? It's hard to teach anything new if they don't trust you. And a lot of the principles that we used were higher level principles that I've picked up along the way. Some pro stuff, some university stuff, like whatever it is. And the kids have never played that way before.
Right.
Like the kids have never played in a structure where everything was sort of like, these are our concepts, these are our rules. And regardless if a team makes 2 or 3 threes on you, like you stick with it for 40 minutes. Can they beat you over 40 minutes from the outside? That was basically what we banked on, right? So like getting them to trust was the first hurdle. When we got our full team available to us, which was probably, end of September, when Mara came, he came from Guinea. So he came to school a little bit later because we were working on visas and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Tierno had been out with injury. He ended up winning Defensive Player of the Year. So when I saw those 2 guys in practice, along with all the guys who had been there the whole time, then I'm like, okay, like we got the pieces here to really play defense. And when we can really play defense, the old adage that defense travels, like regardless of the game, if you can keep a team to 70 or under, you got a good chance to win.
For sure.
Right. So, at that point, I sort of stuck with that. I went with it, and we had some early success, which then allowed the kids to trust me a little bit more, which then we could really build on things. And then we won some more games, and they really started to trust. And then when they really started to trust, then things just kind of took off, and we got a big win right before Christmas over Orangeville, which, we had a bunch of kids on our team that never thought they would beat Orangeville in their life, right? Because Orangeville's been that team. They've been the boogeyman for many years.
Juggernaut, for sure.
So, and they've built a great program there, where now you're looking at it like, yo, these are the guys to beat. If you're going to win the game, like win this game, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So when they got that win, I think they came out with some confidence. And then, going undefeated in OSBA, we beat Orangeville at Orangeville again. Like, those wins really helped us to gain some confidence in ourselves And you go play against 40 or the champs, and they got a good team. They got Leonard, they got Jaden, they got boys inside that can match our height, and then Hunter goes out in the third quarter, he gets hurt, and it's a 2-point game, and they make their run, and we just don't have anything left at the end to come back, and that's one of the things that I was worried about for the whole year. But at the end of the day, on that day, they beat us. They played a great game and we didn't. And that's sort of when it comes down to a one and done playoff, like you got to show your best or you get to go home. And that's how it goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's important, I think, for us to acknowledge the role Orangeville, Tony McIntyre, and the group up there have played in creating the prep stream here in Canada. Like they were kind of, I was talking when I talked to Tari Upshaw, the whole Nita and Rita programs and Orangeville, and like they were the ones that kind of trailblazed and took a lot of the flack for starting this type of growth in our game, in our country. And, ultimately, has led them to the standard that was set on what it meant to be a prep basketball team in Canada, that you could go to the States and compete and win, that, you were going to have a high standard of excellence, that you're going to compete at a high level, you're going to get international players, which is like, something that's very new in Canada, in the whole landscape. So yeah, and like the tipping family and like Jesse and those guys behind the scenes creating some resources to allow that stuff to happen, with the infrastructure of their gym up there, like just acknowledging that I think is important, because we never would have existed at Southwest. I never would have had the confidence or opportunity to even start my own program if it wasn't for them. So just crediting them there. And then now we're catching up to them, and programs like yourselves are beating them. It's really great for the game. It's really great for the OSBA, and the competition and the parity is really, really something that's going to help us grow the game. And we're all going to be better for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one thing just on that point, just sort of with the Orangeville point, like, they've produced like not only great pros, but like NBA guys. And once you start to do that, and then once real NBA players, and like, once you start to do that, you gain the notoriety, right? And then once, now you walk in the gym and everybody knows OPrep. Everybody knows what their legacy is, right? And that's sort of what we've talked about building. We want to get up to that level. We want to have a name for ourselves, and we want to, build our brand like they have, because right now they're on top, regardless of who's the champ at this point. Like, brand wise, like they're on top right now. So
and listen, like
them in that sense.
There's room for more. That's the best part. We
100%.
We have the coaching talent. We have the player talent. We need to keep supporting with infrastructure and resources so that multiple teams, like, I think this year, I'm finally on the outside looking in at the OSBA, but there was legitimately, I think, 5 teams that had a real chance of winning. And those games were going to come down to a small margin of error between victory and defeat. And that's how you prepare guys to play at a high level and to understand adversity and championship basketball. And like, I just think that's so great for the game. And it's so cool that there was more parity, and not because anyone took a step back, because everyone else stepped up.
Yeah. I mean, across the board, I think, we played a bunch of tough games. And one of the things that we talked about during our season is we wanted more tough games. Like, we wanted to be in more close games, and we wanted to be in those adverse situations, because I think that prepares you then for those one and done playoff scenarios, right? Like, it's not going to be the first time. Like, we should have played 40 a couple times before that. And that's on me. That's on our program. Like, we should have done those things, and got a couple games against Crestwood, and the one time we were going to play Crestwood, the lights went out in the gym. Like, there was just some random, like, 2 of our American trips got canceled because of COVID. Like, all these random things just started happening the whole year.
I know, Roe cut the electricity, right?
Nah,
he's like, fuck this, I'm cutting it.
We drove all the way to Fort Erie to play that game, so I don't think that it was that. But man, like, we just wanted to put them in those adverse situations to really teach them, like, because you only learn when things are hard. Like, you don't learn when things are so easy that you don't really got to apply yourself, right? So those tough games are really where the learning process, like, shows, and it shows who you truly are. And the more that you can see that, and the more film that you can show them, like, hey
Yeah.
man, this is a 2-point game with 2 minutes left, and this is what we did. Like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is good, this is bad. How do we work on these things? Now
Yeah.
it's fresh in their mind, and so
Yeah. Totally. Um, Talking about adversity, one of the challenges at the prep level is sharing the love with minutes and getting guys game experience, because you can rep it to death. Being in practice at the prep level is more valuable than playing in a non-competitive game, for sure. There's immense value in that. But like, you only really learn when you're in the game. That's like, experience is the best way to get growth. How did you manage that? Like, how were you able to kind of identify roles for guys and like keep everyone engaged and developing? Like, it's a big challenge at your level.
yeah, for sure. I think we were super lucky. We were 8-9 deep for the whole season,
Yeah. Right.
with good players that are coming off the bench that normally don't come off the bench. I mean, our second team all-star Mike Evbigaru, like,
Yeah.
he was primarily came off the bench. Like, he would step
Right.
in when other guys were hurt or somebody was out or whatever it was.
Right.
But like, a lot of constant one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
You got to gain their trust. You got to get them to trust that team success will lead to personal success.
Yeah.
Constant, film sessions with guys. Like, this is why he gets more minutes than you. This is why, this is what you need to keep working on. And just really, like, defining roles early in the season, I think really helped us.
Yeah.
We played a grade 10 point guard who, at the beginning, we laid it out for him, and we said, look, like, you're going to get minutes, and we're going to get you the reps regardless of how it goes. And he ended up winning 2 or 3 games for us.
Right.
And when our main point guard got hurt in the platinum circuit, like, in the semis, we were losing.
Yeah.
Put him in, he was ready for that now, because he had gotten all those reps during the year,
Yeah.
and all those conversations that are had, like, you got to come to them with tangible, specific things, where now they can say, okay, yeah, coach watches me and coach knows my game. Like, I got to give him what he wants to now work towards whatever is coming up in the future, right? Whether it be this year only, or whether it be next year or in the year after, or however you're framing it for the kid. Like, you got to make him see that any team success is going to lead to their personal success as well.
Yeah. And I think more so now than ever, and correct me if I'm wrong, those one-on-one meetings are social emotional check-ins.
For sure.
It's like
100%.
kids, and you got kids, that are from different countries, away from family, away from home, like at a relatively young age, and then, like, on top of all of the athletic stuff they got on their plate, there's a massive academic component. There's a massive social component. And then, the expectations and the perception versus reality of, like, who am I as a person? Like, is my identity solely in basketball, or am I starting to find myself outside of that? Like, there's so much going on there. Did you have any experiences with the international kids that, like, homesickness or trouble off the court? Like,
not really. I mean, a little bit. We did a lot of work on the the personal side of things.
Yeah,
like, it wasn't just the basketball side, and whether that's a daily check-in, or whether that's just a text message or a quick call or whatever it is.
Right.
We're lucky that all of our kids live together in a hotel, with other people at the school too. So they have friends outside of the basketball team, so they're able to interact that way. And most of the kids at our school are international students. So, everybody's having shared experiences. So that's helpful. Like, just connecting with them on things that aren't basketball sometimes matters too.
Yeah.
And connecting with them on, whether it's, what did you do last night? Like, NBA 2K, they love playing 2K, obviously. So like, talking to them about that, or talking to them about, like, a song, or like like some kind of fashion, or anything like that. That's just like, where they can tell that you're not just using them for basketball, right? That you're actually in it to see them get better and see them be a person. And they're at such an impressionable stage in life where you're like, you're teaching them how to be a man at some point too, because they're going to go off to university and they're expected to be totally
Yeah.
responsible at that point, right? Nobody's
Sure.
holding your hand anymore, right?
For
It's not
sure.
how, nobody's telling you got to go to class. Nobody's
Yep.
checking in on your grades every week. Nobody's doing those things for you.
Yeah.
Like that's your responsibility now. So, trying to put that on them and hold them to expectations, but also to know that you're there for them and there to help and
Yeah.
providing solutions to whatever problems that they have.
Yeah, no doubt. I used to cruise through the team house every once in a while at Southwest and try to step up on the 2K, like the guys would be playing. I'd be like, "Yo, I
Yeah.
got next." Except for it wasn't NBA Live for Sega Genesis, where I could take Heidu Turgaloo and just pull from half all night long. So they usually waxed me pretty good. And I would resort back to like, I'd be running plays and like going straight fundamental. Like they're like, "Coach, the video game," like,
Yeah.
or I'd pick like Golden State with like Wilt Chamberlain and I just like pound it inside the whole game. And they'd be like, "What the hell?" I'd be like, "I gotta win. Like I gotta find a way to win
Yeah,
here."
you got to be competitive, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's great, man. So yeah, I mean, like, we're getting a bit older, but we're not too far from our playing days. And like, we haven't had a chance to catch up much personally in our interactions with each other in the coaching world. Where did you grow up? Like, how did basketball kind of start for you? I always try to paint the picture of like how we got here as coaches. Like, when did you start playing? Like, where were you? What was your upbringing like?
Yeah, I grew up in downtown Toronto, so I grew up right in the city.
Yeah.
I could walk to my elementary school, I walked to my middle school, walked to my high school, went to Oakwood.
Nice.
So I started playing basketball in grade 4. I played for North Toronto OBA. My dad played ball before me. I used to go to the gym with him, men's league, all that kind of stuff, and hang out. But I never really played like properly until grade 4.
Nice.
I got probably more serious about it once grade 7 hit. So middle school, playing more OBA and more rep and more, and just start building on that. And I sort of gave up all the other sports that you do when you're real young, right? You give up hockey, you give up, I still played baseball in the summertime, but other than that, like it was basketball in the wintertime, right? So it was a lot more time dedicated to it. And, you start to practice a little bit more. Obviously it's not like it is now where like everybody has their 3 trainer, they have
strength coach,
they got YouTube teaching them everything, right? Like it was way different back then. Like you could never find a gym. The gym was, if the gym was open at lunch once a month, you were ecstatic. We were playing outside most of the time.
For sure.
But then once high school hit, then now it became serious. Oakwood was a really good basketball school. So knowing that going in, you start to become a little bit more serious about it. Went from Oakwood, played 5 years at Oakwood, went from Oakwood to U of T, staying in the city. I mean, like I'm a city guy. Like I like Toronto. I like knowing people everywhere I go. And I like to have all my contacts around, all my buddies, all my friends, just people that I've met along the way. I was a 5-year starter at U of T. And then I was lucky enough that I had a great relationship with my coach at U of T, Mike Cates. He's legendary, obviously, in the basketball community.
For sure.
And when I went to teachers college the year after I finished playing, he sort of said, why don't you stay on as an assistant?
Sure.
And at that point it was non-paying, but that was fine. I was happy with that. Like I was still in school. So I was juggling both things. And then the year after that, the lead assistant job came up. And at that point it wasn't a lot of money, but like I was still living at home. I still had
you're still eating pizza for dinner. Like it's
exactly. There's no responsibility. So I was like, that's great.
King slice and a soda, man. You're back to practice.
Absolutely. And then, I was still young enough and I was still impressionable enough that I learned a lot from him. Like he really gave me, I tell people all the time, he gave me so much autonomy in what I was doing and the way he still ran things, but he would give me portions of practice and be like, okay, here, you work on the offense on this side and just take it and go with it, and a lot of people, I guess I had more confidence than most people because I was a leader on that same team with a lot of the same guys that I played with. And they looked to me and they respected me because of the way that my leadership style was as a player. So it was easy sort of to make that jump. It was really hard for me as a player to a coach, was start to explain things and look at it from a team perspective rather than just how do I play better today? Totally. Right? Like, it's different when you're watching yourself on film as opposed to watching all 5 guys on film.
Yes.
So your perspective has to change, and the way you explain things has to change, right? Because you got to get across your point to all five guys, which makes it a lot harder than just listening to the coach and being like, coach wants me to do this, okay, I'm going to go do this.
Totally.
Right, which
Yeah.
is a lot easier. So player to coach, I was often stuck in the like, well, why can't you just do this? Like, it's really easy. Like, look, I can do it. Like, why can't you do it? And it's that mindset that has to switch. And it took me a couple of years, I think. And I had a great staff around me. I had a bunch of people around me at U of T who really taught me and really helped me to progress that way. And they would point out, like, you got to give them more, you got to explain more, you got to teach it better, right? It's not about doing all the time. It's about like, okay, so you didn't do it, now what do we need to fix in order for you to be able to do that too?
Totally.
Right. So there's a whole bunch of things, but like, I was at U of T, I coached from U of T. 2008 was my first year. 0809 was my first year as an assistant. And I'm still with the team in different capacities now. I'm not there on the day-to-day, but I'll still help with fundraising. I'll still help with alumni relations. I'll still help with recruiting because I see all the players. So it's still helpful. I miss it, like, I being there for so many years.
Well, yeah, like, listen, like, let's we kind of glanced over this. Like, the playing career you had at Toronto was pretty impactful. Like, you weren't just a scrub that, like, hung around and watched Kate's drop some shit, and like all of a sudden you soaked it in, and then you were the coach. Like, you could really play. Like, you had a really solid career. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, eventually were an MVP of your team. So not just the leadership capability, but the performance side of it too. Do you think that, like, it was that early start, and that your dad played, and that it was kind of a family value that really drove you to get better as a player? Like, and then when you got to the university level, what was that the goal the whole time? Like, you seem like a pretty entrenched Toronto guy. Was it like automatic when you graduated high school? I'm going to U of T, and I'm going to be a legend there, and that's going to complete my inner city Mandam journey. Like,
no, like, it wasn't like, obviously I wanted to go D1, but back then, like, D1 wasn't as accessible as it is now.
Sure.
Right. And we had a bunch of good players in the OUA, and my mindset walking into that place was like, man, like, it's almost like this was beneath me. And then I show up at the first practice and I get my ass kicked. And I'm just like, damn, these guys can actually play. You know what I mean? And it took me, I always tell people, I say, my first year I was third in the league in assists, and third in turnovers. Like, I was just all over the place. Like, I was so, like, high ceiling, low floor, like, just up and down every game, inconsistent. And then, when Kate's came in my second year, and he really,
who was the coach when you first got there?
Well, Ken Olenek recruited me.
Right.
And then, so when I got there, he coached the first month and a half, and then he took the AD job out in BC.
Right.
So then Sherwin Ben was our coach for the rest of the year, and I learned a lot from Sherwin too. Sherwin had played with some of the guys on our team, so a lot of that dynamic was new to him as well. He had been an assistant, but then moved into the head job, and there was a whole bunch of things that, looking back on it now, I'm just like we could have done that better. But there's a whole bunch of, like, motivation stuff, and, like, just the talks that we used to have, those were, like, so high level when I think about how we used to speak. And I was just like, man, that really, like, helped mold me into, like, who I was for the next 4 years.
For sure.
But when Kate's got there, he kind of said, like, he was very truthful with me. He said, look, you don't shoot the ball very well.
Yeah.
Your passes could either hit the wall or it could be a bucket.
Yeah.
And, you never know what you're going to get when you're on the court. So you tell me what you want from me, but, like, I can't play you if I can't trust you.
Yeah.
Right. And here I am as a young kid looking at that, being like, man, what's he talking about? Like, I put up some good numbers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, you start to play, and you start to cut down on your turnovers, and, you start to play better, and you keep working on the consistency of what you're bringing and your leadership and all that stuff. And then you start to feel it, where it's like, man, like, I really impacted that game this way. And I'm not, everything that I give is positive right now. Like I'm not, and by my fourth year, I led the country in assist to turnover ratio. I was third in the country in assists, and like
Right.
way down in turnovers.
Yeah,
I cut my turnovers probably in more less than half.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of mentality of like, doing everything at a high level perfectly and being consistent with that is really helped me, and then I started to learn the game more, because when you watch the film and you're like, okay, I turned it over because of this.
Yeah.
Right. So now I'm really locking in on, okay, now in this play, this is going to be open because this guy's foot is leading and you can hit the back cut on this. Like simple things like that, where you weren't thinking about it before. Before it was just an assist or a turnover.
Yeah. You were just playing. You're just playing.
Exactly. It's all instinct, right?
Yeah.
And then when you're actually thinking about it prior to, now in the game, you're like, oh, there's his foot again. Like I'm going to hit the back cut on this one. Right. Like it's so simple when you actually break it down and really look for things.
Yeah.
But you need somebody to sort of guide you in the right way and really show you those things. Yeah. And this is back when we were watching film on VHS. Like it's not, you didn't have a phone. You couldn't watch video on your phone. You know,
totally
up. Like it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like now, even every one of our kids' games is on the internet.
Cutting tape. This has been a theme. Almost every coach I've talked to, like the old school cutting tape was like through the night, like the wee hours of the morning before you could get like any reasonable footage, like, and then now we just pop it in and it comes out and stats are there and everything's there. Like,
crazy.
It's crazy. But I mean, listen, like the one thing that jumps out to me is like, it's you can shorten the journey if you're willing to learn from others. If you only want to learn on your own and figure it out on your own, it's going to take longer, Sure. And so I think that's something that sticks out to me about you, is you've been able to absorb coaching and relationships from other people to shorten your learning journey to get to the finish line quicker on these little challenges that ultimately add up to being, a pretty damn good player. And now, a pretty damn good coach, is that willingness to learn and share and collaborate with others. Right.
Yeah. And this year at Royal Crown, like we have a great staff. Like we got pros, we got, high level dudes with us that haven't really coached before, but because they were such good players, like there's a lot there, and
Sure.
So we have Denham Brown, obviously a Toronto legend. We got Olu Famatimi, another legend that's still playing pro at 37. And we got Alex Johnson, who has had a 10+ year pro career and really thinks the game,
Sure.
and not to mention Chris Exlis, who's our athletic director, who was one of the OGs before those guys. He's older, and he was one of the first guys to go play at a high school in the States. He was Mr. Basketball in Illinois. Went to DePaul. He was a good player at DePaul, played national team. Like he's all over the place too. So like
Trailblazers.
Absolutely. Just the people involved, even just hearing different perspectives and like picking Denham's brain about mid post, because nobody could stop him in the mid post, and picking AJ's brain about ball screen stuff, because he's a great ball screen player, and defending the ball, he can really get on the point guards, because when he wants to show them, he can go out in the court and show them how to do what he's asking them to do.
Right.
Which then the kids look at him like, oh yeah, okay, he knows what he's talking about, because he can actually do it.
Sure.
Which makes a huge difference when you're coaching. Right?
Once you lose that ability, like you get old. Father Time is undefeated. Like
absolutely.
we're not all freaks of nature like those cats who can at 37 years old still roll out there and play at a high level.
Yeah.
Once you lose the ability to actually show them, that's the real challenge in coaching. It's like, how now can I present this challenge and a solution to it without actually being able to show you how to do it?
Yeah, you got to surround yourself with people that can, and that's totally. You look at every level now. Everybody, coaches are on the floor all the time. Everybody's dressed for practice, because that, there's no more showing up to practice in jeans and Timbs. Like
no,
like you're on the court. You're in your you're in your gear, because you got to be on the court ready to jump in at any point if there needs numbers, or if they need a scout team or whatever it is. Like you got to be out there and ready to play.
For sure. My guy, Patrick Tatum. I went out to help out one of the Canada national camps. I think it was our cadet team. I'm helping out there. We're doing like a baseline drive cutoff a kick out, a one more defensive rotation.
Yeah.
And he's working the pad on the big.
Yeah.
But I'm coming down the lane to set it up, and he lays one on me like, come on, coach, you got to bring it in tougher. Like, boom. I'm like, oh, boom, like snap it back out. Like, I'm like, oh shit, like we're for real now. Like,
yeah. Now you got to really get competitive.
That was his way of kicking up the intensity in the drill, right? Like without going out of kid, he put a lick on me. He knew I'd respond because I'm a competitive guy. Now I'm in the drill. I'm fucking ready to go. The kids are amped up because like now things are happening like bam, 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 bam. But yeah, like you can't not be ready to kind of compete a little bit as a coach even now and be in somewhat of shape. Like I'm not in good shape by any means. But you know, good enough that I can survive a 5-minute stretch. Although the hammies got a little tight in some of those closeout drills at Waterloo this year. You like ball goes up, press up on them, like down, like up, like down.
Yeah, you're lunging.
Bro, I'm coming out there like, oh, I need a break. Like
yeah, you know, it's funny because one of my kids told me this year, you know, coach, I get more amped on defense if you're in a stance too with me. Yeah. Like he's telling me to get in a defensive stance on the sidelines. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm there yet, but we'll see. We'll see. So
that's fantastic. So then, you know, basically like you make the seamless transition to coaching. Obviously they identified when you were a player that there was some natural leadership there. It just so happens you're on campus again, the opportunity to stay involved is there. And then like you keep doing it. So like, what was it that like, there was a coaching change there too. Kate's moved on, and was that John Campbell came in right away then, or was there someone?
Yeah, Rick Delena was there for 2 years, but he was sort of an extension of Kate's just because he had been with us at the same time.
Right.
But yeah, like it went from Kate's to Rick to John, and John's been in there ever since. Yeah.
So like you were with a lot of different coaches running the same program, but you weren't in the lead chair. So you were probably a wealth of cultural knowledge for the program, and the student athletes could really lean on you for like how to make their way around. Where's the best meal? Where's the best tutor? Where's the spot? How do I get to practice? How do I manage my time? But that must have been a bit of an adjustment every time a new guy comes in. Were there big changes each time a new guy came in, or was it a continuation of basically what it was the whole time?
Well, with Rick, it was really a continuation, just because you know we had worked together for all those years with Kate's, you know, like so it was me and him, and then it was still me and him when he took the lead chair, and when John came in, a lot of it was he was coming from another province, so his connections and his network wasn't as strong as mine in Toronto, right? So in our initial conversations, you know, he wanted to keep things the same as much as possible and sort of just build and put his own impression on the things that we had always done. So you know, that's why he stayed with me as one of the lead assistants, not only for the link to the players, but also sort of the link to the city as well. And all the things that we do as a program at U of T, just with community involvement, with you know, summer league in the summertime and tournaments throughout the year, and getting people on campus to be involved. And, you know, like one of the biggest myths about U of T is it's only for, you know, rich, smart people, which is not the case. Like there's a whole bunch of programs there that are available, and we want to make it accessible to everybody in the city. You know, it's right smack in the middle of downtown. Like everybody should be able to come play at U of T at some point, whether it's for U of T or just at U of T. Like those are the gyms that need to be open for kids, because that's high level for them. You know, like that's the best gym in the city, Gold Ring right now.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if you want to get out, you want to play in a gym like that, like here's a little bit of extra motivation, you know, and I think we've done a great job with that at U of T. And so I guess at the end of the day, there wasn't much of a change, because all three coaches that I've worked with at U of T really gave me a lot of responsibility and autonomy in order, like in practice, in games. They would, you know, we had a constant conversation back and forth, and, you know, a lot of respect to them for that, because, you know, they don't got to listen to me. They're the ones who make the final decision. But, you know, a lot of times they're looking at me for advice, or they're looking like, what do you want to run right now? Or who do you want to sub in? And, you know, they're not always going to listen to what I say, but a lot of times there's a lot of back and forth that now you can bounce an idea off me that then I'll tell you what I think. And then you can sort of process everything and make your own decision. You know, and that was great this year too, because I'm looking down the bench and I'm looking at Olu, and I'm looking at Chris Exelis, I'm looking at AJ, and I'm looking at them being like, okay, what do you guys think about this? What do you think about that? And they're just giving me something back quick, which then helps for you to hear either A, your perspective might actually be right, or B, like if it's a different perspective, oh, this is a different way of thinking of it, maybe they might be right, let me go with that too. You know?
It's so cool to me, like, and intriguing to me that, like, as a coach, you're really a product of your experiences,
100%.
right? Like, it's not like I just all of a sudden decide I want to do this stuff in basketball because I'm some savant that, like, you know, is crazy basketball mind and can come up with this shit. It's molded me one way or another from the people I've been exposed to in coaching and playing that have helped mold my philosophy and how I handle things. And like, so now you're empowering your assistants like you were empowered.
Absolutely.
You know? If you're an assistant at a program and, you know, your head coach is like, listen, I'm going to listen to 1% of the stuff you say, and, like, you know, just shut the fuck up and run the clipboard. You know, like, you're not going to develop as much. However, you know, there's positives out of that too, that you're going to learn from. But yeah, I think my background's similar to yours in that, like, the people who exposed us to have a say and be involved really helped shape us. And now we're giving that same autonomy to our staffs and people that we work with.
You know, it's funny because you've worked with a bunch of different coaches too, you
Yeah.
know, like even your experiences. So like, and you've worked with probably like greater changes in personality just from the people that you've worked with that I know, like the personality differences between everyone that you've worked with is a lot greater than mine. Like, I think everybody that I worked with was sort of along the same continuum, where I think you've been sort of on both sides of it. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the luxury of your path, was that there was continuity there, that you were in the U of T, the city, like, you've been there and you've been entrenched in there, and that's helped, I think, take a lot of the barriers down for you and let you be accessible to learn and have that stuff. Like, for me, it's really been a make it happen journey. Like,
for sure,
every time I got anything or any opportunities, because I kind of created it. No one ever, like, came to me. Like, I played at the University of Augustana, which is University of Alberta's satellite campus, like King's College at Western, and I'm sure there's different faculties at U of T that, you know, but in this case, they have their own sports program. So, like, we played in the ACAC, it was college level team. So, like, when I graduated, I was coming back home. Like, no one was like, hey man, come on to our staff. Like, you've been at the program. Like, you know, it's like, you know, I had to make it happen. And fortunately, Brad Campbell at Western, you know, gave me a chance and to come on. And again, $0, which is the trademark of coaching in Canada, which I'm, you know, very passionate about trying to improve for coaches now coming up, to create entry-level jobs for them and help them kind of have it may take the same amount of time as it has us, but, like, during that time, not have to work another job 40 hours a week to try to survive. But yeah, and then, like, you know, through Team O, which I think we can talk about now too, because you've had a similar experience with our provincial sport organization, like, you know, being exposed to Jamie Campbell and Omar Miles, you know, and now Mike Salaya is going to be our head coach this year. And I even worked for Bill Crowdis, was my first job at Fleming College. I was 21. Guys on the team were older than me. That was a wild dynamic. But, you know, I'm always forever grateful to Bill as well. So, yeah, you know, it's all of us have a different journey. And that's, I think, a message I try to share most with any player I come into contact with, is there's no straight line. Like,
no, never.
You know, it's about, if you want to make it happen, you make it happen. And ultimately, as a player, it's gonna end. Even it ends for everyone. Like, you know, Michael Jordan stopped playing, you know,
exactly.
Or whatever. It ends for everyone. It might be 21 for you. It might be 25, 30. You play as long as you can, but it's going to end. And then what's the transition? Like, are you going to work? Are you going to give back? Are you going to coach at a youth level? Are you going to be involved and support the game just through resources? And that's, you know, a huge thing nowadays that will really help us take the next step, is, like, you know, even if you don't want to coach, like, give back to your local youth clubs, like, send some donations, provide to your basketball community resources and access to equipment and facilities wherever you can. But yeah, no, I appreciate you pointing that out. I mean, everyone's journey is different. The Team O stuff was really a great experience for me. It was like, the first time I kind of got to really network with other coaches in a competitive environment where the team that got dropped on our doorstep was a super talented, highly motivated group. You know, it was like the dream team you'd love to have at your prep. You'd love to coach kids all at this level that are all, you know, on that D1 trajectory, and then to do it with other coaches that have all dedicated their lives to, for the most part, at a very minimal compensation, if not free, coach basketball. It was cool. Like, what was your experience like? I think you know, we chatted before, you were with U14, U15 teams, and at a time when Team Ontario was like really, really the standard,
For
and
sure.
all the best players, no matter what. Before AAU was really dominating things, Team O was big time then.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, I had the opportunity to coach Andrew Nemhard and RJ Barrett. U15, we won the gold medal. The year before that, in U14, there was no like actual tournament. So we just made tournaments. So we played in, you know, one tournament in Montreal, one tournament in Indiana, and I think one tournament.
So basically what AAU, basically AAU.
Yeah. But it wasn't sort of like shoe circuit AAU, which is like the model now, right? Like it was more just like kind of show up and play a tournament as Team O, which was cool. You know, we had really good players. You know, we had Noah Kirkwood, we had who's a senior at Harvard this year. We had Liam Courtney on the team. We had like Brandon John. We had, you know, a whole bunch of guys. Like I can't even remember all the names. Like all these guys who played Division I. Like it was such a great, and like you said, like these guys are just put in your lap, and these are grade 8s where you're looking at these grade 8s, like holy smokes, like what are you guys eating? Like you're huge. You know, Jaden Bediako, you know, before he even became a beast. Like this is when he just started playing basketball, and he was still like really talented then, you know, and just had to work on some of the things, that the fundamental base that he has now, you know, and all these kids walking in the gym, and you're just, you know, you're so thankful that you get to coach kids like that, because, you know, you don't see that type of motivation, the internal motivation that they had all the time.
And the talent. Was there a kid, can you remember? I know a situation. I'll tell you my situations next, but a kid that you saw in that environment, and you were just like, that kid's gonna be a pro.
Yeah. I mean, you watch Andrew Nemhard and RJ from that young, like, like they, you know, I remember talking to one of the other coaches, and he was really caught up in the whole, like, we're not working hard enough at practice. Like we need to work harder to be better in a game. And I kind of looked at him, and I was like, oh, we got Andrew and RJ. Like, we had Lloyd Pandy. Like we had those guys. Then we're just looking around. We're like, when it comes to a game, like RJ and Andrew will show up. Don't worry. Like, we played a tough Quebec team who had Junior Farquhar, and Lou Dort, and a bunch of other guys. And, you know, Andrew had 35 the first time we played them and we beat them. And then RJ had 40 in the finals against them. Just one of those things where you look at them and they're just different. They're different than everybody else. You know what I mean? They just have that, like, it's hard to explain. You can't explain it, but when you see it, you're like, that's it. You know, that's it. Like, it's not a simple move. It's the way they move. It's the way their instincts, the way everything.
Presence. There's a presence there.
Exactly. Where you look at them and they're like, that kid's in control. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to get to his spots, and he's going to give you 2 every time. So, you know, and obviously I'm naming RJ Barrett, who's a top 3 pick in the NBA. Like,
but that's
not a surprise by any means.
Yeah, but back then that wasn't a thing. Like, that was maybe even like, that was like the end of Rick Fox, like back then. Like that was the only Canadian, like, you know what I mean? It wasn't a thing. Like the fact that RJ's been able to go from there at 13 years old to literally putting the New York Knicks on his back. And not succumbing to the pressure of the Mecca, like being able to sit down in interviews every night and say, I'm built for this. I want this. I can handle this. You know, that's pretty crazy. Like that's a far cry from what was happening with Canadian players in the NBA when he was 13 or 14.
For sure.
So pretty amazing. I guess Nash would have been delivering pretty serious at that point. So Caleb Houston was mine. You know, he had what people might describe as kind of a underwhelming year at Michigan this year. I mean, by any stretch, to be, a freshman starter at Michigan and put up reasonable numbers, like that's pretty amazing. But
For
like
sure.
when he was in grade 7 at some of these like Team Ontario camp stuff, like I remember watching him, and then I forget who the coach was, but he just coach leaned over to me and was like, there can't be another grade 7 in the world that's this good.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like 6'5", like it was like in the world we were having that realization that not like in Toronto, not like in Canada, not like in North America, like there can't be another child 13 years old that's this good in the world.
Right. Just so talented. It has that, it has the presence, like presence, like you said.
It was just wild. It was like so crazy. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, what about Team Canada? Have you dipped your toe in with some of those camps over the years, like at all, or?
Yeah, a couple volunteer roles. Like I've never actually been with a team, but I've worked with, like a couple times I worked with Dave DeVero when he was coaching. I would help out if they were in Toronto for a training camp, or just being an extra body, an extra set of hands to rebound for kids before practice, to work the score clock. Like, get in like there just to be involved is great, right? Like
get in there and contribute.
Absolutely. And giving back to sort of, for me, it's all about the kids. Like I want to give the kids a great experience. It has nothing to do with me anymore. Like my time is done, and it's all about giving the kids the best experience that they can have, because they're the ones who still have a bright future ahead of them. Like I wish I had those opportunities when I played. So I want to try to provide them now for the kids who are here, so that they can really have the best opportunities available for them,
Yeah, for sure. I've been saying to myself, and like just in some conversations lately, like basically like I'm trying to do now what I wished somebody had done for me.
Absolutely. And that's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, if you operate that way, like there's no real negative outcome, I don't think.
Right. Because even if you only affect one kid, that's better than zero.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of, I'm anchoring to that right now. Like, so that's been a good thing for me. You've been able to use basketball to get, a lot of places, I'm sure. Whether it's like a Waffle House in Indiana, or a Chick-fil-A down in New England, or whatever. Road trips, like, do you have a favorite road trip, or any road trip stories, times where like, anything happened or that sticks out to you in your journey?
I mean, like in the OUA, my favorite road trip always is Ottawa. Like you get 2 good games every time you go there. There's great, you go into the market. We always stay close to the market, so I always walk to the market. I got my favorite coffee spot there.
Nice.
Beaver tails.
Get a beaver tail and a coffee. If you can't smile after that, I don't know.
Exactly, especially, and then when it's dead winter, and then you can skate on the canal during the day. After shoot around before your game. Like, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do.
Hold on, you would go for a skate after shoot around on the canal when you were in Ottawa?
Yeah. Not as a player.
That's a legendary move. As a coach.
Yeah, as a coach.
I love that.
Man, there's beaver tails all along there too, so everything's good, right? But yeah, like I just like to be out and about in cities, and just sort of, I always try to find a good coffee shop. Love coffee. I drink 2-3 a day. Like I just love coffee that way.
Nice.
We always eat well. One thing Kate's always the best thing Kate's ever told me was, win or lose, you always eat well, and that's sort of the motto I go by. I always,
fair enough.
I love a good meal. And I think just overall, just visiting all these different spots that aren't Toronto. Like I think I've been to every small town in Ontario in my life, just for baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever the tournament is. Like I've been there, and like I can say that I've been there, which is funny. So I always look forward to things like that. And now it's a little different, because your road trips become American cities, and American cities are way different depending on where you're at.
Totally.
I went to Charlotte for the first time this year with our team, and checked out Charlotte, and Charlotte was cool. And, we walked around downtown and went to a couple barbecue spots, which were good, and they got their own culture there too. So
sure,
it's always fun to see someplace new.
Yeah, definitely. And it's cool that, that little round ball and basketball is kind of taking you there and giving you those experiences. it sounds like if it wasn't for basketball, you'd be in the coffee shop around the corner from your house.
I still am with basketball.
24/7, like
Still am with
no,
basketball.
it's like 20-minute drive. No, I'm cool. Like I'm gonna stay in the ends here. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, another thing that I failed to mention before, but we've traveled a lot internationally. Like I've been to
Right.
Taiwan twice. I've been to Japan
with U of T.
With U of T.
Okay.
Been to Serbia.
Yeah.
Been to Bahamas. Like,
right.
These are all trips that you
Is
don't
there
get
a
to
favorite?
go
Do you have
on.
a favorite one stick out in your memory? Like
Serbia was amazing. Like, I mean, we stayed
Yeah.
at an academy for one of the pro teams there.
Yeah.
We got to watch a pro game. We worked out a whole bunch, played some pro teams, spent a couple nights on the town. Like it was just an awesome time, like overall.
Yeah.
And that's part of the world you don't get to see very often, right? Like
Sure.
with how the world is working right now, like who knows if you're ever going to be able to do that on a regular basis anymore. Like who knows how that's going to progress. So I'm thankful for all those moments. I've been to Asia 3 times, and like I wouldn't go there again. Like I don't necessarily want to go there again now that I've been there 3 times. So like I've kind of cut that off where it's not a vacation anymore, right? Like I don't have to, I can go see somewhere else with my family. Now they've been there a couple times. So it's you're just so thankful for everything that's able to come, and all the games that you get to play against different teams and different levels, and all the fans you meet at some of these tournaments. And it's just like it's just amazing because you don't see it every day.
What about personally? Like do you travel personally? Like before obviously the pre-pandemic, like did you travel at all, or do you do any trips personally that you love?
I mean like week trips, a lot of all inclusives, just to kind of try to get away. I like the beach, I like the sun. Like once you have a family, things get a little tougher in the sense of like you got to pick and choose where you're going, obviously. So we've been to Bahamas a couple times, stayed at Atlantis. Atlantis is cool. Like that's awesome for kids because they have all the water slides and all the pools and all those things. And and then once COVID hit, and my kids were really young. Well, I only had one kid when last time we went to Atlantis, and then COVID hit.
Right.
And we weren't able to go anywhere. So my youngest, who's 2.5, hasn't been on an airplane yet. I wasted that whole first 2 years where everything's for free.
The COVID kids, man. I got a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. So they're growing up in a different time right now, for sure.
For sure.
That's awesome, man. That's great. So let's go to the pro side. Like you've had some experiences as a player, you got to compete in Europe, you've been exposed to it in the coaching side. And we talked about the RJs and the Caleb Houston who are coming down the pipe, and how it's transformed Canadians' impact and identity as a professional basketball factory. At this point, you had a chance to coach, I believe, with the Honey Badgers in the CEBL. What was that experience like, coaching pros and just the advent of the domestic league, like, the whole circumstance around it? What was that experience like?
Like first and foremost, I think CBL is a great league, honestly. Like just being involved, it's a whole bunch of great people that want it to be so good. Like from players to the staff on each team to the coaches who aren't getting paid much. Like the budget isn't there. Like it's not a glamorous lifestyle by any means, but like really, really, really high level stuff. I had a bunch of guys on our Hamilton team, Lindell Wigginton, who's in the league this year. Like totally. Just having a talk with him about like, and guys used to joke with him like, Lindell, why are you here, man? Like you're a leaguer. Like, and Lindell's looking at us. He's like, yo, I'm just a hooper. I just want to play ball. Like, just to have that, it's such a different mindset as a pro, because that's your livelihood now. You know what I mean? And like, you're looking at them and everybody has their own motivation, and everybody has their own internal stuff that they want to, it's their push. You don't have to push them. You got to guide them. Right. But you don't got to push them, because they know they don't perform, that next paycheck isn't guaranteed. They're not in the league making 20 mil. You know what I mean? They're getting paid by the game in the CBL. So you come out and you got to perform, right? We had a great coaching staff at Hamilton. Like honestly one of the best that I've ever been on.
Right.
Head coach Ryan Schmidt, like great guy, love him, taught me a ton. Like he changed a ton of my thoughts about defensive principles and offensive stuff. And like, we had great basketball conversations that were amazing, and Sheldon Cassamy and Will Rooney and Ashton Smith, David Tyndale, Joel Anthony, Igor Stepanovich, Chantal Valley. Like these are all like names of like people who are in there in the room. We're talking and like, I'm talking to Joel Anthony about like, what was it like to play with Bron and D Wade? And he would tell us all about all the craziest stories. I'm not even sure I can repeat them. You know what I mean? Like,
fair enough.
Like we would play in the practice and I'm watching Joel Anthony play drop defense. And I'm just like, bro, this guy is so much better than everybody at this. Like, it's insane. And he's old and like, but he knows exactly how to play and he can get that across to the big guys. And the big guys are looking at him like, this guy's got an NBA ring. Like he played with Bron and D Wade. Like, I probably got to listen to this guy.
I should do what he's telling me to do.
Yeah. And like, then we would play an intra-squad game and one of our bigs might have been hurt that day. Yeah. And we would look at Joel like, Joel, you in? Joel's like, yeah, I'm in. And he'd catch a lob on somebody or like block somebody against like at the rim or something like that. And you're just like,
right.
Oh, like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, honestly, I can still get to my peak, but I can't sustain it at all. Like, we would talk to him because we even at one point, one of our bigs got hurt and we were kind of like,
can we,
Joel, you want to play? Like, you want to play for the summer? And he's like, nah, man, I'm not playing. But just like the amount of hard work that goes into those teams and the people around it. And like you said, like, it's not for money. Like nobody's doing this for money.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing it for a genuine love of the game and a genuine, like, let me give these guys an opportunity to do something that they wouldn't otherwise get. You know what I mean? So, I really had a great experience last summer. Nothing but good things to say about all the players, all the coaches on the staff. Like, it was an amazing experience for me.
And the league's uniquely positioned as a stepping stone because of the timing of the season and because of the way they've incorporated Usports players in their footprint. There's a lot of really great intangible things happening that are going to have a wide reach into the basketball community. And, I am 1000% with you. You and I, that I've been through the trenches of it's not for money, it's for passion. But we also need to start to switch our hats to more of a business approach and like start to drum up resources. And that's one of the things that I'm super excited about with the Playground Global and my role in business development there, and our association with Scarborough Shooting Stars and other, people in the CEBL that are basically paving the way for hopefully a long-term sustainable league that can actually provide legitimate value to corporations and corporate Canada and corporate America and brands to reach large masses of people and create jobs, and not just coaching, like media, marketing, like operations, event management, event staff, like coaching players, like, the whole gamut of the basketball industry that up until this point, we've primarily in Canada focused only on the players.
Right.
And the coaches were just the martyrs. We were just willing to do it for free and we came along. So just having that more holistic view. What do you think is the most important thing as basketball country we need to do to grow the game right now? That's a big question, but like,
I think the biggest thing, honestly, is to continue with the grassroots stuff. Like, continue to come together on the grassroots stuff. Like, take out politics. Like, everybody's got to come together and just like try to build it from the ground up. And like, it's kind of like the coaching thing. Like, you got to be okay with being the trailblazer for it, even if it's not going to really benefit you in any way. Like, if everybody who's involved right now in AU and prep and everything came together and we really built Canada the way we're supposed to build it, like, look how many NBA guys we got right now. Like, our national team should be good. Like, let's make our national team good. And then that'll trickle down into the youth levels. And then, when we start to win at those youth levels and really start to push the states in everything North America. And, like now, okay, so now it's not like we go to the States and win and everyone's like, oh, it's a surprise. Like, now it's expected. Like, we go, like, I'm going there to win. I'm not going there to be like, oh, it's the States, we should lose. Like, no, we can compete with them, so we see that. Like, Canadian prep teams go there every weekend and like hand out some crazy scores on some teams. Like Fort Erie must have beat some teams by 40, 50 points this year. And Orangeville did it too, and Crestwood. And, we beat Vertical Academy with Mikey Williams and Moravian Prep. And, all these teams where everybody in the States is like, oh, that's a great team. And then you walk in and they're like, you're from Canada, they're going to win easy. And you win and you're like, and everyone's like, oh, this team can actually play. You know what I mean? Like,
because they're presented, like, those players are marketed. They're presented in a way to be giants. It's the same thing when you watch the March Madness tournament. You're like, oh my God, these guys are like pros. They're like, look at the packed stadium, look at the cheerleaders, look at the Jumbotron, look at the TV deal, look at all the pomp and circumstance we've put around this game of basketball. But then when you strip all that away, it's just a game, and we are ultimately there, competitive, and can win at the highest levels, with Canadian representation now. So I think you're bang on. Like, the grassroots level is so important, and getting more kids to play and creating more ways to get people to play. Like, it doesn't just have to be on a club team, or whatever the traditional pathway is. Just finding ways to get people to play and in the gym and experiencing the sport.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for playground, like all the different playgrounds now too. Like, I mean, just that access where every weekend, there's going to be something at playground, whether it's, Platinum Circuit, whether it's NJC, whether it's a community tournament, whether it's OSBA games, whether it's, Premier League, whether it's CYBL, whatever it is, like, there's gonna be something there. And that opportunity for kids is just so immense that now they don't got to travel thousands of miles everywhere.
Drives me nuts. The idea that, you'd rather drive 10 hours to practice for 2 rather than practice for 10 instead, like that whole mindset of like, we got to go outside of our community to get better. I get from a competition level, like, yes, if like, I grew up in Belleville, like, you're only going to be able to get so good playing against people from your area. You got to go to Toronto, you got to play, but like, not at the cost of not practicing and improving. You spend all your time in the car instead of getting better.
We shouldn't need to go to the States to get a good game. There's a ton of good games in Canada. You know what I mean? And then you travel to the States too, because, obviously exposure opportunities and experiences and all that kind of stuff. But like, we should be able to go to playground and play against, a good team there, so then you get that opportunity where you're not spending a ton of money. And then you can then plug that right back into the program and build the program. And then you go to the States,
share the resources.
For sure.
Man, we could go on and on about the youth stuff. I want to talk about the Pro Canadian Invitational. This is an initiative that a group of us, stakeholders in Canadian basketball, have really collaborated on. It's been amazing to see us all kind of come together on it. And our organizing committee actually nominated you to be the head coach of our showcase game, one of the head coaches of our showcase game, and to run some of the combine coaching games as well. What are you looking forward to about this initiative? And, you've been able to kind of lend your services so far, and we're excited to get it going April 23rd and 24th. What are you excited about with this initiative?
I just think meeting all the new people that are involved, like every day I see a new player, a new coach, a new somebody who's signed on, and like that opportunity to network and be involved and hear, have basketball conversations and, see different players that I haven't seen in years. I've seen a couple of the guys that have signed on. They're good players, and you're looking at them like, that guy can really be good. Like, let me see him up against some other guys, let me see this matchup. Let me see that matchup. And like, there's one thing to watch them on film, but it's another thing to see them live, because you can see sort of their timing. You can see their pace. You can see their leadership. You can see their, mental capacity for basketball. Like, that's a huge thing that you can't really tell on film.
Sure.
Right. and just like being involved with all the coaches. It'll just be all the off court talks, honestly. Like
Yeah.
on the court, everybody has their job, everyone has, but like that downtime between drills, or just like just a quick chat, being like, hey, what's up, man? My name is Mike. Like, where you at? Oh, that's great. I know that person. You know that person? Oh, that's cool. Like, we have a mutual, mutual friend there. Like,
Yeah, the
that's great.
connectivity of it.
For
I mean,
sure.
that's what I think, from my position in the whole thing that's been so awesome is just the willingness to kind of jump in and collaborate, and people are getting behind it. I think it's the timing of it too. Like, it's not a new idea by any stretch. Like, other guys in Canada basketball have wanted to kind of do stuff like this before, and for whatever reason, it hasn't grabbed legs. And this seems to be taking off in a really meaningful way. And the collaboration is so key. Like, ultimately, hopefully this can put a spotlight globally from the global professional basketball world on Canadians and Canadian coaches and Canadian players, and centralize it to one place where we can all come together. Not unlike what we do for the kids going high school to university. Like, you're right in that world. We spend so much time trying to get kids scholarships, but then ultimately at the end of their university and college career, we don't really support the next step to the professional
to the pro. Yeah.
And also that pathway of university to pro. And I think because of the depth of talent we now have and the reputation we've been able to create in the world as a basketball, producer of product, we can now have players that from this event could sign deals in Portugal or in Serbia, or, at any professional level, getting paid to do what they love and do what they want to do. Maybe not NBA this year, but maybe it grows to that, and having some pre-draft stuff. So,
and half the battle of pro is getting your foot in the door, right? Like,
totally.
The way to move up in pro is to get pro film, and the only way you get pro film is get your foot in the door. So like, that first opportunity is the hardest one to get, because then that second opportunity, once you get that first opportunity, you got to go earn that second one, and it's easier to earn the second one than it is the first one, for sure.
Yes, for sure. And okay, a little bit of a breaking news here, because you're coaching, and I know how you don't want to get too far from your coffee shop. We've actually just reached an agreement with U of T to host the showcase game at the Goldring Center.
Awesome. Love it.
So you'll be in familiar confines, pacing the sideline of your old barn.
Perfect. Love it.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that. And the BioSteel game happening there this weekend. I'm not sure when we'll air this, but April 1st to 3rd, I believe.
Yeah.
We got to turn up for that as basketball fans, and support that event and get out and enjoy it. It's always awesome. My first time at the BioSteel game was when one of our players, Kobe Elvis, who was the MVP of the OSBA that year, got the nod, and my brother and my wife and I went, and it was just so cool for us to set the stage for those young athletes, and to be able to do that now, hopefully with the college to pro pathway, and set the stage, build the environment out so that it's special and it's professional and it's easily accessible to basketball fans to come and watch. It's a really exciting time for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's a great spot. It's downtown, like I said, and just great gym, great facility. Yeah. There's going to be guys there that have never seen that place, and they're going to walk in and be like, "Damn, what is this?" Like,
yeah.
How's this? Where was this? Like, I've never even heard or seen it. So
yeah, totally.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then, the way I always like to kind of wrap up these conversations, like you and I could probably talk for days. I always say that's like my trademark whenever I'm talking to a coach, like, shit, man, we could keep going for days. Like, but in reality, we can wrap up, but I always ask the question, like, from a playground perspective, one of the great things I get to do with my job is prospect new locations to put playgrounds. Mm-hmm. So if we had a blank check for you and money wasn't an object, and you could put a playground anywhere, where would it be? What would it look like? And you kind of got the green light to make something happen. What would you do?
I'm downtown Toronto. I think that would be the most
right next to the coffee shop.
that would be the most used gym in history. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know, you get a 6 gym facility downtown where it's accessible to kids. Like,
yeah.
there's nothing better. But like realistically, there's no space,
Well,
obviously,
we're gonna need one of those like eightplex movie theaters to close or something. Like
for sure.
we could get in there and make some magic happen.
I don't know if you can build the courts on top of each other or not, but
Yeah, we have to figure some. Man, we filled a Olympic-sized swimming pool in Brampton with dirt and built a court over it. Like, there's no barriers at this point. It's like make it happen mode here.
yeah, no,
Where there's a will,
absolutely.
there's a way.
No, but I think something, I think a lot of the places have been strategically picked already that are pretty good, you
Yeah,
know. Maybe something more like North Yorkish, like
yeah,
up to 400 somewhere.
yeah,
I think there's a lot of space up there, factory space, like
yeah, yeah.
because a lot of people are moving out that way, and a
Sure.
lot of those GTA places are screaming for help with gym space and all those different spots that would be full,
Yeah,
and
totally.
even just making some of the playgrounds you already got better. Like I think that
Yeah,
would be even wait that would be, you know,
yeah,
like those places in the States where every court has film, every court has a gun on the
yeah,
side that's waiting, every court has this and this, like it's like the
yeah.
list goes on and on and on and on, and like
Sure.
just providing opportunities for kids that they've never seen a gun before, they've never seen
Yeah,
Dr. Dish in the side there where they can
yeah,
come
yeah,
in the gym, shoot by themselves and be like, man, I can make 1,000 shots in an hour right now. Like that's crazy. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Totally. It's so funny. So one of the things I've had to learn over the past year in this role is like, um, in reality, like we're still very young as a business, and like, being able to execute what we did with six facilities in 18 months, and like, we're pushing 30 courts now, like, you know, and people, I think, walk in expecting Gold Ring Center.
yeah, yeah, like it's
And it's like,
not.
no, no, bro, like this was an abandoned warehouse like 3 months ago. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
You've done a great job
there's gonna be some growing pains here. Like,
for sure.
the fact is we have it now. Now let's water the grass and make it
Yep.
as good as it can be, and continue to try to expand and improve and grow. But because it's so new, people expect it to be a $30 million,
Right, right, right. It's not
government
that. It's
funded
not like that.
new build. And it's like, no, man, like this was a swimming pool 2 months ago. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
like give it some time to come into itself. And like, and then we all have to kind of take ownership of it. Like when we're in the
How about just being grateful for being
yeah,
there? Like,
yeah,
we never had that stuff.
for real, for
Playing on
real.
concrete
No
courts
shit.
at the Boys and Girls Club, double rims.
No shit. Yeah. Jump shots were not an option. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did not drop. Like you needed to get that to 2 feet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, that's dope. Hey man, listen, I really appreciate your time. I'm really looking forward to, like you said, chopping it up over the weekend with the Pro Canadian Invitational and watching you in your element, and connecting you with other coaches and people who are like-minded and have the vision of growth and improvement. And I am sincerely grateful for what you contribute to the basketball community. I know what it's like. I have a lot of empathy for the journey. Like I really, truly get it. So for us to share and communicate and collaborate with each other, I think is profound and has a great message to send to the young people that are playing our sport. So keep doing your thing. I know that next season has already started for you at Royal Crown.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep mentoring and developing the guy. Keep them playing defense. The young kids don't want to play any defense.
No, you gotta play. You gotta play defense. You play for us. That's for sure.
That's it. That's it. That's amazing. So yeah, respect, man. Appreciate you. And we'll see you in a couple weeks in person.
Perfect. See you then.
All right. Okay. Take care.